Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton, host of Behind the Confident Smile, where we inspire women to walk in love, live in hope, and be healed from past hurts. And today I am here with Leslie Roberson, the founder and CEO of the Black Beauty Collective. Thank you for being here, Leslie.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. We are going to be digging into who is Leslie behind her smile and what happened with you being on your own since the age of 14. But before we get there, when you were a child, did you see yourself as an entrepreneur?
I did, actually.
Really?
In ways, right? Right? As a kid, the question would always come like, what would you like to be when you grow up? Early on, I had an answer. I wanted to be an architect because my favorite teacher's husband was an architect. And I was like, that's what I have to do as a grown-up. But as I got older, like middle school, high school, people would ask, and I would go, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know it's going to be amazing. I used to say it all the time, and people would be like, you need to get a better answer. I'm like, I don't know, but it's going to be great. And I think that greatness with just kind of identifying it is great, right? It's going to be amazing. I'll change lives. I'll have impact. It'll be all those things. Mm-hmm. I think it gave me the freedom to answer that question, right, throughout the journey. And so, yes, in ways, I always saw myself as an entrepreneur. I needed to be untethered.
How did you learn about what entrepreneurship was?
So let's see. I knew entrepreneurs in the community. So like I knew the guy who owned the fish market or the person who owned like the car shop, and they were random people or fixed cars for a living. Or I knew like the community entrepreneur who came to your house to fix your plumbing but didn't work for like an official company, but they knew how to do it. Those were all entrepreneurs. They were structured differently, but they made their own money. And then most importantly, later in life, like my teen years, my dad was an entrepreneur. He's owned a barbershop for like over 20 years. And so he's done some amazing things and made some great strides in his life. And so just kind of seeing that and kind of moving along on my journey, that's what made me kind of get into entrepreneurship.
Beautiful. Yeah. So what led to you being on your own at the age of 14?
So it's not that deep, thankfully, right? Because it could have been full of trauma, and it wasn't the worst. When I was in 8th grade, so I grew up in Rockford, Illinois, which is about, for those of you that don't know, it's about 15 minutes from the Wisconsin border. And my mom decided she wanted to change, and so she moved my younger sister and I. Now, I have 4 sisters. The older two were like, absolutely not, we're not moving, versus myself, who was in the 8th grade, and my younger sister, who was maybe around the 4th or 5th grade. She decided she was going to move us to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which was a complete culture shock for me because I had predominantly went to non-Black schools, and I got there, and that's all, it was a very heavy, Hattiesburg, Mississippi is the area we lived in, was like the poor part of Hattiesburg. Property was different. We lived in the projects, and every day I would come home from school crying because I felt like such an outsider, and I didn't have friends, and I could not figure it out. And so my mom was finally like, well, I mean, you can go back, but after you leave, I don't have anything else. And at 14, at that age, I really didn't understand what it meant. Like, she literally had nothing else. I was literally, like, I went back. I said, okay, I'm going to go back. And I went back home to Rockford, and I stayed with my older sister, the eldest. So she's 9 years older than I am. So if I was 14, she was probably about 23-ish. So, and she, of course, at 23, had her whole entire life. And so I literally had to get a job and start working, and I got myself to and from school, whether it was catching the city bus or whatever, every day, or the school bus. And I worked after school. I played basketball. I monitored my grades. I made sure I was doing what I was supposed to do because I really didn't have anybody checking to make sure, asking questions about anything. I kind of was like on my own, and that's what it was. So that's how I ended up in the world, like managing myself at 14.
Where did the moxie come from to say, you know what, I'm going to go back to Rockford and manage my own life?
I didn't fully grasp what it meant, right? Because there's no way at 14, you don't have enough world experience to understand what that's going to mean. But I was always the I was like the scientist. I was the smart kid in the family. I was the one that always figured it out. I was the quiet one. I was the observant one. I was like that as a kid, younger kid. And so I was always measuring and twice and cutting once. That's just how I was as a young person, and just studious. And so I figured I could do it. Like, and I wasn't afraid either. I wasn't like concerned. I was like, I'm going, and that's the end of that. Yeah. So, and I went after it. So whatever this thing is, it's always been inside of me. Just because I wasn't afraid to take the chance. Like, it'll be fine. I'm just gonna go for it. I don't like this, so I'm deciding to change it, even as a young person.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what did your sister say when she saw you managing your life on your own?
I mean, she just was kind of like, let me. That's what was interesting. Nobody really was like, let us jump in. They were like, okay, she's doing it, whatever it is. And so I literally had to hold myself accountable for the most part. Like, and nobody was pushing me in a direction. You know, usually when you're young, someone's like, you need to get good grades, you need to do this, you need to consider college. Nobody really was pushing me in any direction. I just decided what I was going to do. And thankfully, I actually was the first in my family to go to college. I'm first generational college student, first to graduate. I was the only one sitting with my master's for a long time. Actually, my younger sister got her master's last year. And so she followed literally behind my steps. Yeah. She literally followed behind me, got her undergrad and master's in the same thing I did. And now all of my sisters have their bachelor's degree or degrees or professional degrees, all of them, because I was the first one to go knock it out. So yeah, so even though I was like on my own young, I was still a leader in my space. And so, because I was focused, like this is what I'm doing, and I did it. And so my freshman year in college, I actually left Rockford, Illinois, and went to FAMU, which was like insane because I had never, outside of living in Mississippi, I had never traveled by myself or lived out of state. I went to orientation by myself. I caught a plane, got on a plane and flew down by myself and did it all. And adults would be like, you're doing what? And I'm like, yeah, this is what I have to do. This is what's next. Yeah. Fearless as a like older adult. I'm
definitely.
Like, that was insane. I couldn't imagine my daughter like out in the world by herself. Sorry, you guys.
That would be my next question.
Yeah.
Like, now as a full grown woman, you looking back at, I did that. What do you think?
I did
about living this way so fearlessly?
Yeah.
And this is before cell phones.
Yeah.
This is before like all of the technology that keeps us connected.
That's
like,
right.
oh, are you safe? Did you arrive? Like you just out here.
Moving around. I absolutely was just out here moving around. I mean, you know what? I'm grateful, right? Because anything could have transpired, right? But I'm grateful that it went the way that it was. And as an actual adult, I'm like floored that I was literally out here moving the way that I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did your
amazing.
teachers say? Like, when we talk about parent-teacher conferences, report card pickups, like... Nothing.
No. Because it was understood that I was self-managing. And you know, it's really interesting. It was like a mixed bag in high school where some adults were like concerned, whereas like, I don't know how she's gonna turn out. And then others were like, you've always been amazing and I've always known it. Like, and some of them I still talk to until this day. I'll go up to Rockford and chat with them or visit them and stuff like that as they become seasoned in their careers and retired and things of this nature. I'll go see them and they always go, I always knew, like you were going to be like the one, because I was just always just forward. The way that I thought about things and the way I existed, even as a teenager, I was always like, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it, and that was it. Like, and there was no talking me out of it or going, that might not be the right answer. I'm like, no, this is what's happening. I'm doing it. And I would go and I would do it. And I would learn and I would take the wins and I would take the losses and I would just do it. And so that's how I've always been. So I guess, see what I mean? Entrepreneurship has always been just in the spirit, just the way I've existed in the world. So it would make sense that I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You mentioned thinking about if your daughter was in your shoes.
Oh my gosh.
How would you feel as a mother to her if she was out there?
You know what's so interesting about my daughter? She's like me times 10, like at her age. She's like me if I had the level of support that she has. That's what she is. So she's a kid that if she had to travel somewhere, travel home, or go and take care of this, she could get it done. She absolutely could. And I know it. I don't worry about her. But even though I'm like, no, I'm going to come with you. You know, like, yeah, we're going to map this out together. Or your dad and I are going to drop you off or whatever it is. Because she's gone to several college programs. I mean, she's fearless too. Between her freshman and sophomore year, she did 3 weeks at UCLA. Last summer, she did a month over at a school in Boston. This summer, she's planning to go to New York. Like, she has just this level of fearlessness. I'm like, man, I'm not necessarily going if I was like that. I wish I was like that, but because I was. And so she's like me in a structured way where she's doing these amazing things that are going to absolutely catapult her career and her life into spaces that are unimaginable to most. And so, yeah, she's fearless. She's a good kid.
How does that feel for you, knowing how you have navigated the world?
It feels good. I feel like I've put in the work myself and I've passed it on because I think as a young person, I was doing it out of more of a necessity. I had to, because if I don't, nobody else will. Nobody else is going to go, hey, let's go visit this college. Like, I had to be like, I'm going to visit this college and I'm going to find the resources to be able to make it happen. And so I had to do it versus my daughter. I've like instilled this sense of freedom in her, right? Where she gets to literally see the world as like, oh man, I can go wherever and do whatever and try whatever and experience things and live life. That I've instilled that same concept in her, but it's gonna be even more amazing. So I'm proud that I've been able to gift her that, because a lot of us don't get that sense of freedom.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As I think about your mother and her saying, okay, well, go.
Yeah.
What has been some of her reflections?
You know, that's a really good question. I'm not certain that I have a full answer for that because she's not as vocal about it. She doesn't know how to be as vocal about it as I am. But my mom was really young when she had my older sister. And so probably for her, she was like, I mean, I was a mom at your age, you know what I mean? So in her mind, she probably thought that I was more than capable too, because she had raised me and she saw how determined I was as a young person and smart I was and studious and all these things. She saw it. So she was probably like, oh, you're fine. You'll be fine. In her mind, like, go on. It'll be fine. And so, but she isn't as vocal about it as I probably would like her to be, right? Selfishly. But I'm sure she's probably extremely proud as well. Yeah. That it's turned out the way that it did.
Yeah.
Like,
breaking barriers for your family.
Absolutely. And just solving a lot of generational curses and things of that nature. Absolutely. Yeah, and I've been like the leader behind pushing everybody to go after their own dreams and whatever they aspire to be or whatever they're passionate about, go after it, go do it. Let's figure out how to get it done. Like, don't think about the obstacle, but think about the possibility. And so I do a lot of that. Even still, like, the younger generations are coming and my nieces are coming and they call me, oh, like, this is what I'm trying to figure out. I'm scared to do this. What do you think? Like, literally. Yeah, I still hold that post in my family.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Darius Hillman, inviting you to join me for the series finale of In the Arena, where we'll relive some of the conversations and experience the people who help make In the Arena the place for elevated conversation and shared community. I promise you, it's a journey down memory lane well worth taking together. Join the conversation Tuesday at 7 p.m. on CAN TV Cable Channel 19 and streaming on cantv.org and the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television. How do you
carry and manage so many other people's dreams and worries?
You know what? I don't take it on as a burden because it's in me. Like, it doesn't feel like work. And that's what I do at the Black Beauty Collective with a lot of the entrepreneurs. I become that kind of that person for them as well, and like pushing them and getting them to see the possibilities. Because a lot of times we become so focused on what's in front of us, and this is the obstacle, and this is why I can't, or this is what's here. You don't really think about, okay, yes, this is what's here, but this is what could be. And so just getting people to see the other side of like the rainbow, like it's okay. Like I know that this is like this today, but if you gradually work towards X, it could be like this a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now, or 5 years from now. And so being able to be that, like the light for some people. And so it's a gift that I have, and it doesn't feel like a burden. So I don't feel like I'm carrying it. I just feel like I get to be like the thought partner, or just that conduit to push you into the right direction. Yeah. And I can say it honestly and wholeheartedly that I can see it, like where it was like this for someone, and I'm like breathing life into what they're wanting to do and saying, okay, I know you can do it. What about this, or this? And I can see them achieving the goal now. Definitely. And they're living in their purpose. And I'm going, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. Because that's most of the time what we need. Yeah. We don't need a lot. We just need somebody to speak a little life sometimes.
Definitely.
And have a different take and a positive outlook, and not be so focused on what's wrong. Yeah.
But what's right.
That's right.
Focusing on the assets and the strengths.
Absolutely.
So how did the Black Beauty Collective come about?
Oh my goodness. I wish I had like this deep, amazing story.
It don't have to be deep, but I really
love
do.
I really do wish I had this amazingly deep story. But I've been working under 3 verticals probably most of my career. I've been in talent acquisition, and so I've worked for a lot of big companies, Ernst & Young and Wayfair and C&O Financial, and most recently I worked for Meta as a recruiter. And and in the second vertical, I've had a modeling contract with an agency in Chicago, and I do catalog modeling. So your Bonton, your Sears, your Myers, and I've probably been with them for 13 years or so. And so I've done, if there's a catalog, I've probably been in it at some point, modeling clothes. And then the third vertical is I've been an entrepreneur. And so my most recent company prior to the Black Beauty Collective was a luxury linen rental company and high-end fabrics. And I had an opportunity to work with some of the most amazing designers around Chicago. I was in a lot of the wedding magazines. I was like all over the place, like low-key, in a very short period of time. And I was having this nagging feeling that I wasn't doing enough. Like, I'm not doing enough. Like, I love this space. I love fabrics. I love textures. I love colors. But an event is an event. It's a couple hours. You work months for it. It's a few hours. But it makes people feel good in the moment, but it's not really using my skills and what I do well to leverage or help anybody. And so I was feeling that way. And so I had arrived to a place where I decided I was going to sell the luxury linen company. And I did, might I add. I sold it to my very first customer, which is so dope. Like, to me, it's like this amazing like story, because the first customer that believed in the business, they actually called me. They were the last customer I had as well. And they go, hey, I want to place an order. And I said, okay, you can place the order, but just so you know, I'm going to be sunsetting the company. She's like, you're closing it? I said, I am. She was like, man, I wish I could buy it. I was like, oh, you can. Let's talk about that. And long story short, they ended up acquiring a company. And so I sold that company. And so it kind of left me with like this, what's next kind of a feeling. And so I was speaking with one of my friends, and they're like, you know what, you should open a beauty supply store. And I was like, absolutely not. I would never do that. because the way that I view the beauty supply store is not this beautiful experience. I had just come from the luxury linen space where the fabric price is extremely high, it's expensive. So all my clients were white glove, and I'm jumping through hoops, and I want them to have a positive experience, and I'm writing them handwritten notes and all the things. And the beauty supply store did not feel luxury. No. And so I was like, absolutely not. But what I did do is I decided to take like a tour to some of like the Blue Mercuries and the Credos and some of the bigger retailers that are in the beauty industry, and I was asking questions about their ethos and what do they believe and all the things. And I actually came across one company, and they had I was talking to the manager, and the manager is sharing with me about their ethos, and she goes, inside of this box, all of the founders are Black women. And I was like, oh, that's great. Are there also Black founders in other places around the store? And she goes, nope, they're all in this box. And I thought that was a very interesting thing. I'm like, that's an interesting way to place this, right? And so I went home, and I remember doing some research, just kind of going down a rabbit hole to kind of just understand more about the beauty industry and why there were gaps in the beauty industry. Why aren't more Black founders represented on retail shelves? And when especially in this huge, and then it was like a $60 billion industry, but of course, this was 2-3 years ago at this point. And so $60 billion industry, Black people spend about 11% of that $60 billion, about $6.6 billion in beauty annually. We have to drive on average, I want to say it's like 13 minutes further than our counterparts to gain access to products that'll work on our hair and skin. And then the likelihood of having someone there is like a 1 to 3 likelihood that will answer questions, that can match your makeup color, that understands your hair texture, your hair type, to be able to answer baseline questions. So why is it such a discrepancy despite us spending so much in the beauty industry? And when I kind of put the research back a little bit, I saw that it's not because Black founders aren't making and creating amazing products. There are a lot of barriers to access to capital. And then when you look at venture capital funding, it's less than 1% goes to Black founders. And if you break it down to Black women founders, it's even less. And then you think about the CPG, which is a consumer product goods, which is like beauty products, hair care products, it's even less. And so it becomes difficult to scale your business to a new level, into retail, into a place where a customer can try your products, into a place where you're running multiple marketing ads and things of that nature. And so I decided to create this Black Beauty Collective, which is a different take on the retail model. So it's a collective model, and entrepreneurs pay to be a member of the collective. And as a part of their membership, they receive access to shelf space, they receive resources, they are a part of a larger community where they can now collaborate with other founders on marketing and just being able to support their business. And then some of the things that I do as a founder of this company is I either create or I help identify wholesale opportunities for these brands to be able to get wholesale opportunities, which becomes consistent income for their businesses to help them grow. So for me, this is a social impact initiative where I know that if you have more successful founders, they will create jobs in their communities. They'll be able to give back into their communities. They'll be able to go further and do more. Correct. And so that's how I came up on the Black Beauty Collective.
Wow, that's a big come up.
Thank you.
A beautiful come up. And when I first learned about the Black Beauty Collective, I was just like, about time. Like that's how I felt about it. Refreshing, about time. Someone has figured out how to bring Black beauty entrepreneurs together for support them and say, hey, I know the barriers that you're facing. This is how we're going to make this opportunity.
Absolutely.
For you.
Absolutely. And so one of the best, my favorite benefits is the entrepreneurs receive 100% of their retail sales. And so literally they're able to put the capital back into their businesses for growth and scalability. And so it's a really cool initiative. And might I add, there are Black founders, but it's beauty for everyone. And so one of the cool things about a lot of these Black founders is their products are vegan-based and they're organic and they're plant-based and you're not using harsh chemicals in these products because oftentimes, like melanated skin is hypersensitive and we can't use a lot of this stuff that you find on the shelf stores. So these founders are creating products that we can use. So it's not these Black founders are creating products for Black people. They're creating products for anyone that's conscious about what they're putting on skin or use vegan products or are really focused on organic or clean beauty we're creating products for that population of consumers. And so that's what's really cool about it and unique about it. It's not that these founders, because they're Black, they only create Black products.
Yeah.
That's not it. It's absolutely products for everyone.
Correct. They're creating products, and they are Black people.
That's right. They just so happen to be.
They just so happen to be Black.
Yes, and it's something important to note because
Definitely.
I think that it's lost in translation, because it's just like if we go in the store and all of the owners are white males and they're selling to a demographic of women. Does that mean that only white males can use this product?
No.
But they're focusing on women. It happens all the time.
Yes.
And so it's important to say that a Black founder can absolutely create a product that anyone can use.
Who would be ideal sponsor or for the Black Beauty Collective that you want to collaborate with?
External sponsor?
Yeah.
So let me think about this. Oh my gosh. it's my opportunity to give out a wish list. Those of you who are listening, I would say, so there are a couple categories the way that I think about this. So targeting companies like, your Amex, your Visa, your MasterCard, they have programs that are focused on social impact and DEI. And like right now we have 100% Black women as a part of the collective. And which is, even though I love everybody, it makes me warm that we have all Black women a part of this thing, because I don't know. I just feel like Black women, we work so hard, and a lot of times when you look at like the salary discrepancies and things of that nature, we just can be overlooked. And I think this is a happy moment that I get to just support these folks and get them more recognition, and I just get to pour in, and that's like my jam. And so, but in terms of sponsors, like I know a lot of the big credit card companies have social impact initiatives where they're supporting small businesses. And so sponsors like that would be amazing. And then the next bucket are going to be like your tech companies, like your Shopify, your Counterly, companies like that, because they have, or Meta, because Meta, you can get ad spends. Let's see, Counterly, they can give you credits to be able to support these small businesses in ways in which they seem small, but imagine they seem really small to be able to have a Counterly link, but it's a fee every month.
Definitely.
And so if they get credit or training or how to optimize it or whatever support, that would be amazing from like these bigger tech companies or the Metas of the world, if they show the entrepreneurs like this is how to successfully run ads. Because those things will go the furthest for the small business entrepreneur. And so you get companies like that. And then of course, always the community sponsors. And so when you think community sponsors, it could look like just about anything, but coming together from a community fund. Because one of the things I'm really conscious about is making sure that wherever we put a Black Beauty Collective, we have at least 20% of our retail shelf space representative of the brands from that community. Because it's important for me to make sure people are going out and not only spending in that community, but those dollars are circulating in that community. And so having community sponsors is another avenue of making sure that that's happening. And so any community sponsors, I'm always open to.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up our time together and you think about the 14-year-old you, what is one word you want to say to her?
Patience. Yeah, I was always ready for it to happen. Patience. Whatever it was, I'm always ready for it to happen. Underline it 3 times, whatever that means. Patience. Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Well, Leslie, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all that you're doing in the social entrepreneurship space as a Black woman, as a mother, as all the things. And for communities, not just locally, but nationwide and probably globally too, are definitely looking at you for the secret sauce.
Thank you, Bianca. I appreciate you having me. It has been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in.